Magandang araw, Podmates. Ako po muli si Howie Severino. Isa sa mga issue na apektado ang lahat ay ang inflation o yung pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin. Tatalakayan natin yan kasama ang isa sa mga respetadong kongresista na eksperto rin sa ekonomiya, si Congressman Joey Salceda, Albay Representative. Magandang araw sa iyo, Congressman Salceda.
Magandang araw.
So, Congressman, kanina nabanggit niyo yung rice, no? I want to ask you about this. Everyone is concerned about this, no? The candidate, when he was candidate, no? As candidate, Bongbong Marcos famously promised to cut rice prices by half. As president, hindi na niya ito binabanggit. Was there ever a scenario para mangyayari ito na mahati ang rice prices by half to, sabi nga, 20 pesos per kilo?
Hindi sa imposible, kundi it will be at the expense of so many other sectors which are of equal priority. It will take you at least about 180 billion to sustain that for 1 year, and you want to sustain that for the rest, and then you will be spending a lot of money. Well, why don't you just give those money to the farmers so they can produce better? So, I mean, there were policy options. But to me, you have to understand a Marcos. A Marcos is well known for articulation of grand national ambition. So, it is part of that aspirational aspect na, kumbaga, I look at the 20 pesos as basically an expression that in a particular sector or segment or product, which 99.9% of Filipinos use 3 times a day. And therefore, I think if you are willing to stake your presidency, or at least make it as your aspiration, then I think it does resonate very well. So it forms part of a bigger, and I would expect that after the inaugural, then the SONA, then I think we have recently the post-SONA, which had the 8-point agenda. And then there would be, I think, a bigger one that will be made by NEDA. And basically, NEDA had a plan to eventually bring local production costs to 12 pesos per palay per kilo. If we can reduce middleman cost and increase milling efficiency, yes, it's possible. But the poor, especially the poor, spends roughly 1/3 of its entire money on rice. I mean, the lowest 20% spend much of their money on rice. So the word is aspirational. Second is, I think, why not from 38 to 42, and when you push it closer to 20, I think it will create public good. In other words, it's the direction that matters.
You have commented, no, not just about rice and yung agricultural crops, pero meat and fish, no? Kasi nagiging mahal na rin ito, no? And you've pointed out that these are also major sources of protein. And then, yun nga, sinasabi nyo, pag kinulang ng protein yung population, ay may cost yan in terms of health and even educational achievement, no? Because, siyempre, pag malnourished ang kabataan, hihina rin yung mga utak nila, no? So, hindi to madalas na napapag-usapan, no? Yung connection ng meat and fish sa educational achievement ng populasyon.
Alam mo, yun ang problema natin dyan kasi yung inflation dun sa the things that are crucial instruments against malnutrition, like even eggs, I think the protein gram per peso is 2 pesos. So probably chicken is 1 peso per 63 gram, 1 peso and 63 per gram ang protein. Pork, kasi kung education pinagtatalunan, protein ang kailangan mo. So actually, the cheapest would be beef. But the problem there is, ang issue po dyan is the inflation. Our meat inflation is 9.9% in July, and our oil is 18.4%. Our trigo, our sugar is 17.6% year on year, and these are supposed to be Philippine exports. Oil, including coconut oils, flour is 27.6% higher, and that's principally because of Ukraine. So, kaya nga, ang sakit sa ulo ko, ito hindi nagpapatulog sa akin. Dahil kung babasahin mo yung sinulat ng World Bank, na dati nagsorry sila kay Dominguez, na nirelease nila, actually hindi naman pala 80% ng Pilipino ang grade 5 na hindi alam kung ano dapat malaman, ngayon pala ay 91%. So, yun ay pre-pandemic. Kung isinabay mo pa yung since March 2020 na walang face-to-face and therefore there was a downgrading of the transfer of knowledge, and plus the fact that inflation is now preventing access or affordability of these nutrients in terms of the required dietary allowances per day of eggs, chicken, pork, beef, and fish, and especially fish, where we have structural limits also in the Celebes Sea. If you look at the data, doon ako mas worried kasi yung fish is supposed to be the poor man's protein, and I think we've also reached the structural limits in fish. We have essentially overfished. So, well, they are problems. That's why they will not be problems if there are no solutions. There will be solutions.
Well, proposed initiatives like that, no, even if they're justified, no, will require funding, no. So, sakto rin yung role nyo sa Congress na kayo rin nag-iisip ng mga idea for raising revenues, new taxes, tax reform, etc. No, I know you have a long list of possible sources of new revenues, pero dahil maraming nakikinig, sir, na mga millennials, Gen Z, mga tao na gumagamit lagi ng internet, nabubuhay sa internet, sa digital technology, how do you propose to raise money through the digital economy? You want to impose new taxes on digital transactions. You've even mentioned Netflix. Paano, in a nutshell, Congressman, paano to gagawin?
Una, wala naman akong binago. There's no new tax being imposed. Anybody who is not exempted is presumed to be covered by the VAT law. Pero, para mas klaro, ito pong batas na to is on non-resident foreign corporations. Obviously, itong mga maiingay, hindi naman sila non-resident. Definitely, they're not foreign. So, basically, ang habol ko dito, Facebook, Google, na kumita ng 54 billion ng 2021, yung singkong kusing, hindi umattend po ng hearing. At pangalawa, sir, tatamaan ka ba? Number one, kung ang sales mo is less than 3 million, exempted ka sa VAT. So wala kang problema dito. Pangalawa, ikaw ba ay kumikita lang ng 250,000 per year under Train 1? Exempted ka. Bambi ka ba? Rehistrado ka sa barangay mo as a barangay micro business enterprise? Exempted ka. Transaction mo ba sa custom? Dahil nag-import ka, let's say, from Lazada or from some other things? Exempted ka under the de minimis rule. Therefore, there are enough. So, hindi ko po habol. Wala man akong kikitain sa maliliit. In fact, kanina ko pa sinasabi na mas pabor ako na palaguin ang mga SMSE. In fact, if you read some of the others that we are trying to promote, aside from the fact that I'm trying to push from the national broadband to cater to the MSME. Number two, we're proposing really a tax amnesty for MSME. Everybody, your earnings prior to April 2022, they're all free of any liability. Para po wala na ho silang problema. For one condition, they regularize, they get a TIN, they register with the SSS, and then of course with the DTI. Para po mas matutulungan sila ng gobyerno. Kasi katulad nung nangyari po nung ating pong pandemya, yung natulungan po nung small business wage subsidy, yung may mga rehistrado sa BIR, yung may mga TIN. So in other words, I'd rather proceed because in the entire Asia, the Philippines has the highest informality of enterprises. We are 39%. You compare that to Vietnam with only 9% of their enterprise as being informal. So in other words, we want to help them grow. And part of growing really is at a certain point, you have to pay the correct taxes. But at this point, if you're asking me, is that proposal to impose VAT on digital service providers, they are not targeted at the small players. As I've said, there are already 4 escape clauses, and I'm sure almost all of them are already covered.
Hi, I'm Howie Severino. Check out the Howie Severino podcast, an original for GMA News and Public Affairs. New episodes will stream every Thursday. Listen for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other platforms.